In the quiet outskirts of 1980s Jakarta, a young woman named Asi walks through a desolate rubber plantation, her face a mask of profound despair. Pregnant and abandoned by the man she loved, she has been ostracized by her family and village, left to bear her shame alone. Her journey ends at a towering ancient tree, where, in a final act of heartbreak, she ends her own life and that of her unborn child. This desperate act, however, is not an end but a beginning. Her spirit, twisted by sorrow and rage, latches on to the physical world, transforming into a vengeful entity, a sundal bowing, forever bound to the place of her demise. Her anguish becomes a curse, waiting for a new life to claim as her own, a life she was denied. A few days later, a young couple, Andy and Puspeta, are filled with joy and anticipation as they bring their newborn baby girl, Amelia, home from the hospital. Their new house, nestled on the edge of that same rubber plantation, is supposed to be a sanctuary, a place to build their family. But from the moment they arrive, a subtle, creeping dread begins to permeate their happiness. Puspita, still recovering from a difficult childbirth, feels an unsettling presence in the house. She hears faint whispers on the wind and catches fleeting glimpses of a shadowy figure in the periphery of her vision. Andy, ever the pragmatist, dismisses her fears as postpartum anxiety, assuring her that it's just the stress of being a new mother. He believes their new life is perfect, but he is tragically unaware that their daughter's birth has awakened the tormented spirit of Asai. The supernatural occurrences soon escalate, moving from subtle whispers to terrifying manifestations. One afternoon, Puspita is rocking Amelia in her crib when she hears a faint, sorrowful lullaby drifting from the other room. The voice is chillingly melancholic, a song of loss that seems to seep into the very walls of the house. When she investigates, the music stops and the house falls silent, but the cold spot where the sound originated lingers. Later that night, as Andy works late, Puspita is awakened by the sound of Amelia crying. Rushing to the nursery, she finds the baby staring intently at a dark corner of the room, her tiny hands reaching towards an unseen figure. Puspita feels a wave of icy air wash over her and sees a tall, gaunt woman in a tattered white dress standing in the shadows, her long dark hair obscuring her face. The figure vanishes as soon as Puspita screams, leaving her clutching her baby, heart pounding with terror. Andy's mother, a kind and deeply spiritual woman, arrives for a visit and immediately senses the dark energy clinging to the house and her granddaughter. Unlike Andy, she recognizes the signs of a supernatural infestation. She notices that Amelia often cries inconsolably at dusk, the hour when the barrier between worlds is at its thinnest. One evening, while holding Amelia, the grandmother sees the reflection of Asai in a window, her ghostly face contorted in a silent scream. Horrified, she tries to warn Andy, explaining that a powerful spirit has attached itself to the baby and that they are all in grave danger. She gives Puspita a pair of scissors, a traditional folk remedy believed to ward off evil spirits, instructing her to keep them near the baby at all times. Andy, however, remains skeptical, growing frustrated with what he perceives as old-fashioned superstition fueling his wife's anxiety. The family's attempts to protect the baby only seem to provoke Asai further. The spirit's presence becomes more aggressive, its intentions more malevolent. Objects begin to move on their own. Dishes fly off shelves and shatter. Doors slam shut with violent force. And the baby's toys activate in the dead of night, their cheerful jingles turning into a cacophony of horror. Puspita's mental state deteriorates rapidly under the relentless psychological assault. She is haunted by visions of Asai, who appears to her not just as a fleeting shadow, but as a solid presence, her eyes burning with a mixture of longing and hatred. The ghost whispers to Puspita, trying to convince her that she is an unfit mother, that the baby would be better off with her. Hasi wants to take Amelia to raise her as the child she lost. Desperate for help, the grandmother seeks out Abba, a wise and respected village elder with deep knowledge of the occult. Abba listens gravely to her story, his face etched with concern. He knows the legend of Asai, the woman who took her life by the great tree and became a Sundal Balong. He explains that Asai's spirit is trapped, driven by an eternal, agonizing maternal instinct. She sees Amelia and believes the baby is her own, a replacement for the child she never had the chance to hold. Abba warns that Asai is not just a restless spirit. She is a powerful and dangerous entity. Anyone who stands between her and the baby will face her wrath. He agrees to help, understanding that an exorcism is the only way to save the family and sever Asai's connection to Amelia. Abba arrives at the house armed with holy scriptures and ritualistic items. The moment he steps inside, the atmosphere becomes thick and oppressive. As his power is palpable, resisting his presence with a malevolent force. As Abba begins his prayers, the house erupts into chaos. The lights flicker and die, plunging them into darkness. A guttural, inhuman shriek echoes from the nursery, and the temperature drops, frost forming on the windows. Asai manifests in her most terrifying form, her face pale and rotting, a gaping, bloody hole visible in her back, the signature wound of a Sundal Balong. She lunges not at the baby, but at the grandmother, seeing her as the primary guardian, the main obstacle in her path. The spirit throws the elderly woman across the room with supernatural strength, incapacitating her. As Abba continues the ritual, chanting verses to weaken the spirit, Asai turns her fury on Andy. His skepticism is shattered as he witnesses the paranormal violence firsthand. The ghost toys with him, creating horrifying illusions. He sees visions of Puspita harming the baby, twisted images designed to break his will and drive a wedge between him and his wife. Asai slams him against walls and chokes him with unseen hands, demonstrating the fatal consequences of interference. Andy, battered and terrified, finally understands the true nature of the evil that has invaded their home. He realizes that his disbelief has left his family vulnerable, and that Puspita has been fighting this battle alone all along. With Andy and his mother neutralized, only Puspita and Abba are left to confront the vengeful spirit. Abba instructs Puspita that she must be the one to sever the bond. As a mother, her love for Amelia is a force more powerful than Asai's spectral obsession. He tells her she must confront Asai directly and reclaim her child. Mustering every ounce of courage she has left, Puspita takes the ritual scissors and enters the nursery, which has become the epicenter of the haunting. The room is unnaturally cold, and Asai is there, cradling a spectral image of a baby, humming her sorrowful lullaby. When she sees Puspita, her face twists with rage. She screams, "She is my child." A final, terrifying confrontation ensues. Asai unleashes her full power, shaking the very foundations of the house. But Puspita, fueled by a fierce, primal love for her daughter, stands her ground. She holds the scissors out like a talisman and shouts back at the ghost, her voice ringing with maternal authority. "She is my daughter. You will not have her." She confronts Asai, not with fear, but with empathy, acknowledging her pain while refusing to yield. At the same time, Abba completes the final verse of the exorcism. A brilliant light fills the room, and Asai lets out a final agonizing shriek as her spectral form is violently expelled from the house. The curse is broken. The oppressive atmosphere lifts, and a fragile peace settles over the home. Andy and his mother recover from their injuries, and the family is finally reunited, their bond strengthened by the shared trauma. They know, however, that the memory of Asai and the terror she brought will forever linger, a dark shadow in the story of their family's beginning.